What if I told you that one of the greatest philosophers in history lived in a barrel, barked at people, and told the most powerful man in the world to move out of his sunlight? Meet Diogenes of Sinope, the ancient troll, rebel philosopher, and master of living simply. He lived in a barrel, mocked kings, and called himself a dog. This isn't a myth. This is Diogenes, possibly the boldest philosopher to ever walk the earth. He didn't just question society, he flipped it on its head. And in a world obsessed with image, status, and stuff, Diogenes might just be the savage truth-teller we need today. Born in the 4th century BCE in the city of Sinope, Diogenes was exiled for defacing currency, a literal act of challenging value systems. He fled to Athens, homeless and broke, but instead of despairing, he became a walking critique of everything fake, greedy, or corrupt. Diogenes believed society was sick, and he became its medicine, bitter but honest. He didn't just speak the truth, he lived it shamelessly. He exposed social hypocrisy through action, not lectures. Why be embarrassed by nature, but not by greed or corruption? Cynicism comes from the Greek word kynikos, meaning dog-like, and Diogenes embraced it. He believed that humans are overcomplicating life, pursuing money, fame, and comfort instead of truth, virtue, and simplicity. Diogenes was called a dog, so he became one. He barked at people, lived outside, and answered nature's call wherever he pleased. Why? To reject fake morals and return to natural living. Imagine a world where happiness isn't tied to things. Diogenes saw the world drowning in desires for wealth, fame, possessions, and he stepped aside. He believed that true freedom came from simplicity. In fact, he owned almost nothing. Once, he saw a boy drinking water with his hands. Immediately, Diogenes threw away his own cup and said, "A child has beaten me in plainness of living." This radical minimalism wasn't just a lifestyle, it was his philosophy. Diogenes taught that we should strip away the unnecessary. Clothes, titles, approval, all distractions. The fewer your needs, the less power the world has over you. To be rich, he said, is to need little. Diogenes was one of the first philosophers to use performance art as activism. He would eat in public, urinate in public, even masturbate in public, not to be obscene, but to challenge what society considered shameful. Diogenes didn't just preach, he performed. He became a kind of philosopher provocateur. One of his most famous stunts? Walking through the streets of Athens with a lantern in the middle of the day. When people asked what he was doing, he replied, "I'm looking for an honest man." That lantern wasn't for light. It was a torch against hypocrisy. Diogenes held a mirror up to society and exposed its lies. He mocked social pretenses, laughed at etiquette, and even disrupted Plato's lectures by eating loudly. In modern terms, he was a professional troll. But his trolling had purpose. He wanted people to wake up, to stop pretending, to think, to live with truth. Now imagine this. Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the known world, visits Diogenes. He finds him lying under the sun, relaxed. Alexander says, "I am Alexander, king of the world. Ask me for anything." Diogenes doesn't kneel. He doesn't flatter. He simply replies, "Stand out of my sunlight." This wasn't arrogance. It was clarity. Diogenes didn't need anything Alexander had. Not gold, not land, not titles. His needs were so few, his freedom so complete, that even kings had nothing to offer him. Diogenes didn't write books. He didn't give lectures in ivory towers. His life was the philosophy, raw, messy, and unapologetically honest. So, what can a teenager in 2025 learn from a man who lived in a barrel 2,000 years ago? A lot. Today, we are bombarded with messages telling us to want more. Likes, followers, gadgets, clothes. But what if Diogenes was right? What if freedom isn't in having more, but in needing less? Let's be real. Diogenes wouldn't care about your phone, your followers, or your drip. He'd ask, are you free? Or are you just another slave to trends, likes, and anxiety? Break it down on social media. Don't perform, be honest. On consumerism, buy less. Need less. Own your time. On judgment, don't be afraid to be weird if you're being real. On ambition, don't confuse status with self-worth. Diogenes teaches that peace doesn't come from rising above others, but from stepping outside the race entirely. Imagine deleting the apps that steal your time, refusing to chase trends, watching clouds instead of screens. That's not laziness. That's rebellion. That's power. Diogenes teaches us that being different isn't bad. It's brave. He shows us that sometimes the wisest person is the one who dares to walk away. Now picture this. While others were perfecting their selfies and chasing virtual validation, Diogenes was sitting barefoot by the river, watching the flow of life with no urge to capture it. That kind of presence? It's rare, and it's priceless. He reminds us that self-worth isn't measured by followers, but by how free we are from needing them. To need less is not to have less joy. It's to be less owned by what you own. You don't have to live in a barrel. But maybe, just maybe, you can put down your phone. Take a walk. Be with yourself. Diogenes didn't write books, but his ideas echo through history. The Stoics admired him. The Cynics followed him. Even modern minimalists unknowingly echo his ideas. From Marcus Aurelius to Marie Kondo, his ghost lingers. He was mocked. He was ignored. But he lived by one rule: be real. And in a world obsessed with image, that makes him more relevant than ever. So, what can we take from Diogenes? That maybe we don't need to escape the world, but to see through its illusions, to stop chasing what doesn't matter and start living what does. Be like Diogenes, not because he was strange, but because he was free.